Scorpio, welcome to your end of September 2020 General Tarot Updates. It's Raina here. I realized I hadn't done your reading. I usually don't do Scorpios last, but I guess there's a first time for everything. Getting that money. I got another card. Getting that money. See what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Okay. Put this a little bit down. Alrighty then. Yeah. So let's see. We've got 4 out of the 6 cards are Pentacles. We've got a High Priestess and an 8 of Wands. So the heart of the matter is the 7 of Pentacles, which is kind of like looking at your progress that you've made. If you own your own business, I would tend to think this would be, when you're just starting out, but not necessarily, because when you own your own business, there are no guarantees. You may have consistency for it, where it seems like, and when I say consistency, not exactly the same amount, but something almost predictable, and then something happens and there's nothing you can trace it to that kind of changes the whole game up. And you're left scratching your head and saying, what happened? But I do tend to think of the beginning stages because you're putting in effort and you're wondering if you're getting results. So unless this is a business that you've already owned, that you have implemented some new service or something and you're not quite sure if it's going to work, then I guess if it's something that you have already had, that it could be that as well. But I tend to think of people that have a business that's relatively new, and they have to have patience because it might be growing very slowly, not as quickly as they thought it would. But these are great cards on the top here because the past position is the 8 of Wands, and this is about movement. So perhaps you've had a recent burst of activity after, a very slow start with something, and there could be this feeling of you were going to throw in the towel, and then all of a sudden you started to have a breakthrough. So you may actually be sitting pretty, like more positive than I'm giving you credit for, because you might have had like a real stagnant start, and now it's starting to work out. And I remember when I started doing this, that's exactly what happened. I did not get clients for 2 months. And I was really literally on the edge of just throwing in the towel and saying, I guess it's not going to work out. I wanted it to, but I couldn't understand. I was getting thousands of views and all this stuff. And then I saw that first client, in my email. And I think I started crying, or I was about to cry, because everything seemed like it was just working against me. And when something is meant to be, it'll happen, but it won't necessarily happen on your time, on your timeline. And I'm talking about it will happen on your timeline, but not your worldly timeline. What you think it should be. And so to me, the 7 of Pentacles ultimately is about cultivating patience and waiting for the harvest to come in. We're going to have a harvest moon on October 1st. Wouldn't that be something for some Scorpios to start to turn a profit then? Remember, too, that we have had retrograde after retrograde. We've had a lot of slowdowns. And even before all of these retrogrades started, we were having a worldly retrograde with a certain situation that happened that was impeding our ability to make that money, right? These pentacles. And so as we pull through that, now we're starting to see that spurt of activity. The higher message is about the Four of Pentacles. And I think that how I would put this, and then I want to like make it some cosmic message, but really on the more practical side, since we have so many pentacles, I might as well be practical about this. Even spiritual practicality is saying, you see this person who's holding on to their money. Well, I can't say just one thing. For some of you, you might be holding on too tightly, and you're kind of countering the law of attraction, where you're fear-based, where you're afraid to spend money because you haven't earned any money, or obviously you can't spend what you don't have, but I mean, if you feel like you've imposed these rules for yourself. But for other people, the thing is that if you have things that you are depriving yourself of, just because you're trying to impose your will on the universe and trying to kind of deprive yourself until you get this business really rolling, that to me is not really the way to look at it. Because if I'm not talking about frivolous purchases, but things that you would normally buy that are, kind of normal things, and you're really being a miser, that's not necessarily a good thing. And it might even show an excessive preoccupation with money. This card can also be sound financial management. So it could be for those people who are very frugal and respectful of their money, and what it means is that if you continue to have these practices in place, you can continue to have material financial security, because this is a card of financial security. Number 4 is connected to Saturn, and that's about foundations. But there was something else, I can't remember, something about sometimes it can be greed, and that can lead to inflated expectations. Or, for a Scorpio, if your Venus is in Scorpio Sun, if your Venus is in Sagittarius, it's not so much greed as, or Mercury, if you have Mercury in Sagittarius or Venus in Sagittarius, it's not so much greed as just high expectations or inflated expectations that can make you feel unnecessarily disappointed, because it really isn't something that you need to focus on right now. In other words, when you kind of dial back some of your expectations, then you're pleasantly surprised. If you place, I know some people are very unrealistic, and they think whatever they do is just going to take off like crazy. And it's great to believe in yourself, but there has to be some kind of realism that's attached to that. When I was concerned about my business, it was because I heard someone saying, "Oh, it took me a month to get my first client," and it had been like a couple of weeks or whatever, and I was just like, I breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, so you don't get them right away, even though you get thousands of views. I mean, if you think about it, statistically, it would make sense that you would get, if you're getting thousands of views, that you would get at least a certain percentage of clients from that. And no. And after a month went by, I was like, oh man, how can I have faith in this if I'm kind of walking in the dark here? I'm stumbling in the dark. I don't know, when this is going to happen. I had no control over it. I was doing my part. I was putting out videos, and I was trying to, to advertise my services. And it was something that I understand is very frustrating. But you have to realize that this is one of the reasons why people spend so much money on advertisements, I guess, because it is such a, you do have to reach a lot of people sometimes to get that. Not always, there's no hard and fast rules, I guess. But anyway, what crosses you is the Six of Pentacles, which is a card of give and take. Now we're looking at finances here, of material resources. We could also say energy, Now, the person who is giving is dressed in attire that you can tell they have money, whether they, work in the type of profession that they have it, or they have that kind of inheritance. Actually, this is a card of inheritance. And what I think, this is in a challenged position about give and take, is that if you have it to give, that's wonderful. But if somebody is taking and they are not improving their life, then it's problematic. When somebody asks another person for money and that person gives them money, that's awesome. But if they're not improving their life and they're just kind of like taking and taking, then it becomes one-sided. So when you're doing business and you have your own business, if you're not charging what you're worth, and especially if a Scorpio is in their own business, chances are, not always, that they might be in a spiritual profession. And they, a lot of people who are in this line of work have a very distorted view of money because of, the indoctrination that money is the root of all evil and all that stuff. So examine your ideas about money in general. Let me see if I can bring this into a personal relationship. What I would say is that watch out for somebody who might be trying to use you financially in a personal relationship. And I don't like to say that because I really do believe generosity is a virtue. I really do in general. But there are people who are exploiting others and pretending that they care and they really don't. And the thing about it is, with the Seven of Pentacles, you may be kind of like at that phase where you're kind of wondering, should I continue in this relationship? And perhaps this person came on like gangbusters with the Eight of Wands. They might even be a fire sign. And there might have even been like a lot of physical passion. But the spiritual message of the Four of Pentacles is, watch your money, hold on to your money. Because with the Six of Pentacles in the challenged position, it could be an imbalance of give and take, and to the point where it's not fair. Imbalances where one person is earning, money, but the other person is perhaps doing other things for the relationship. That's a different story. We're not talking about that, but we're talking about when that other person isn't really contributing to the relationship at all, in any capacity. What's coming in are the advices, the High Priestess. Get in touch with your higher self, or something coming in that makes you aware of what has been going on, a deception. In terms of business matters, because you have so much pentacles here, it could be that you're too focused on the material and you have to start getting back into the spiritual. I think this is also a problem sometimes when we are doing business, when we have our own business, is that we are so focused on, just trying to stay afloat, that we forget that ultimately, this is all about our service to others, to serve God. I mean, this is how I feel about it. We're serving God, and I don't mean that in a subservient way. I mean in a joyful way. And I was just talking about this with my partner this morning. We were talking, I said, about fruitive work, which means when you do things for the results, you're looking for the, getting paid, for instance, that comes first and foremost in your motivation, and how that is not, the spiritual path. When you put God first in the form of your fellow human being, and you really sincerely want to help them, God will take care of you. That's the quote. I can't remember the exact quote, but that is what they were saying. And I think this was from the Bhagavad Gita. I can't remember. But, yeah, so, as above, so below. And so we have yet more pentacles. The outcome is the Knight of Pentacles, and this is a card associated with your opposite sign of Taurus, Scorpio. And how I see this card is putting one foot in front of the other and, working. If you work for yourself, doing that and but being aware of like whether or not you can sense that there's any kind of movement. Perhaps you've had a burst of activity but it's kind of uneven. And so, it may feel like the sense of confusion in that regard. But the Knight of Pentacles is about consistent effort in this material sense. If you work for another person and maybe you're doing your own business as a side gig, then just continue working. If it's not unpleasant to work in wherever it is that you're working, continue to do this. Continue to plug away until you can have a stable business that you can live off of, or perhaps just take that profit once you turn a profit, the inconsistent profit, and just funnel that into an account you could call your freedom account. I also think that in personal relationships, this is a card where there are pentacles all over it. So if you are smitten by a fire sign, and Leo tends to be the one, but there's also Aries and Sagittarius, there may be like an earth sign person around you, and they're not as flashy, but they are more solid. And that might be the person that is really for you once you get past the infatuation phase. And it's by really looking within and connecting to, your spirit guides, your higher self, that you can fully realize the difference. Maybe you're kind of spinning your wheels with somebody that you don't have a future with, and you're expending unnecessary energy in that direction. I don't know. Anyway, what I do know is that I thank you for watching this, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of September. If you'd like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.